It's good, like, seriously just so good. A rare thriller featuring two female leads. As a totally explosive popcorn flick, the reviews are absolutely stellar. Hey everyone, it's Film Focus here. Let's cut the chit-chat and take a look together at what exactly is going on. This doe-eyed girl right here is our main character for today, Lisa. Following the address on the note, she drives her beat-up car to a luxurious estate. The lady of the house is named Anna. She seems thrilled to see Lisa. From their conversation, we learn Anna is looking to hire a live-in maid, and Lisa is today's applicant. After chatting for a bit, Anna seems pretty happy with Lisa as she shows her around the villa's amenities. She mentions her husband, Frank. The interior decor is lavish and exquisite. When she gets to the staircase, Anna even cracks a joke, saying that only Frank could design a staircase like this. She feels like one day she's gonna tumble right down it. As for why she wants a live-in maid, it's because she's expecting another baby. Chatting and laughing the whole way, they arrive at the attic on the top floor, which is where Lisa will be staying. Although the room isn't huge, you can tell from Lisa's expression that she's quite satisfied. The little room is very cozy, and compared to the space downstairs, it's much quieter and more private. After the interview, Anna tells Lisa that she needs to see the next applicant before making her final decision. As a token of apology, she insists on giving Lisa $20 for gas. While everything looks perfect right now, the moment that engine starts, Lisa knows deep down that this will be her first and also her last time setting foot in this estate. If Anna had bothered to run a single background check on her, she would have realized that the prestigious degree and time abroad on her resume were nothing but complete fabrication. Even the glasses she wore were just a prop she put on before walking in. Lisa's reality was actually grim. Like so many others struggling in the state, she didn't have a permanent address. Every night, she'd wash up as best she could in a public restroom, then spend the night sleeping in her beat-up car. The good news was that the $20 from Anna was enough to keep her going for a couple more days. The bad news, however, was that on the third morning, she was woken by a cop tapping on her window, telling her she couldn't park there overnight. Just when Lisa thought she was completely out of options, she got a call from Anna. Lisa had gotten the job, and she could start that very day. Hearing this, Lisa could barely believe her ears. She rushed straight over to the estate, but as she pulled in, the gardener trimming the trees by the gate looked like he wanted to warn her about something. Walking back into the mansion, Lisa was stunned. The hall, which had been spotless yesterday, was now a total disaster zone. Leftover food was everywhere, suggesting there had been a wild party the night before. Just then, Anna came running out, beaming with joy, and gave her a huge hug. Before Lisa could even react, Anna grabbed her luggage and dashed upstairs. Seeing this, what else could Lisa do? She got straight to work cleaning up. She scrubbed until evening, before the hall was finally back to normal. Turning around, she saw Anna's husband, Frank, brought their daughter, Cecilia, home. When he learned that Millie was the new nanny, and that she'd be staying in the attic room, Andrew looked a bit confused for a split second, but it was just for a moment. He quickly shifted to welcoming Millie to the house. The scene cuts to later, with Millie back in her room in the attic. There's a mini fridge in the room, but it's stocked with nothing but a few bottles of water. The wooden lock on the door shows clear signs of having been pried open, and the weird thing about this lock is, it can only be locked from the outside with a key. You can't lock it from the inside. The only window in the attic is not only sealed shut, but it's also reinforced with steel bars. Just then, Nina comes in with some food. Millie asks if it's possible to open the window. She likes being able to breathe fresh air, and if it's not too much trouble, she'd also like a key to her room. Regarding Millie's request, Nina doesn't hesitate for a second. She promises to call a handyman as soon as possible. As for the attic key, since this used to be Andrew's storage room, she says she'll have to dig around for it. With that settled, she hands Millie a brand new phone. It's already linked to her credit card, making it easier for Millie to handle the daily household shopping. Before leaving, Nina gives her another hug, sincerely thanking Millie for being there. But here is where things get messy. As the next morning sunlight streams into the attic, Millie oversleeps on her very first day. She rushes downstairs in a panic, only to find Nina tearing the place apart. She's frantically throwing things everywhere, screaming at Millie, demanding to know where her speech is for tonight's PTA meeting. Where did it go? Millie is completely baffled. How would she know where the speech went? This unhinged woman in front of her is like a totally different person from the gentle Nina she met yesterday. Luckily, Andrew steps in just in time, and after he manages to soothe her, Nina finally managed to calm down, almost as if her outburst was something Andrew was already all too used to. Once Nina went upstairs, he offered Millie a sincere apology, but all of this was being watched by the gardener in the yard. When Millie went outside to take out the trash. The gardener confronted her suspiciously. "Why did you come here to work?" He was about to say more, but was stopped by Nina, who was glaring down from the second floor, scaring him off. Later, while Millie was cleaning the bathroom, she spotted a pill inside the toilet bowl. Curious, she fished it out and examined it for a moment. She opened the cabinet to check the bottle, when Nina suddenly appeared behind her. That's when we learned that Nina has been secretly taking psychiatric medication. Realizing her secret had been discovered, she harshly kicked Millie out of the bathroom. That night, Millie was lying in her attic room, scrolling through Andrew's social media. At the same time, images of him kept flashing through her mind. Suddenly, Andrew knocked on the door and walked in, bringing Millie a slice of cake. As they gazed at each other, the tension between them instantly heated up. Just as they were about to kiss, Millie jolted awake from her dream. She cursed herself. Why couldn't she have woken up a second later? But soon, Nina brought her some good news. She gave Millie the key to the attic, and according to her contract, since it was Sunday, Millie had the day off. So, Millie took her employment contract to the social services office to report into her caseworker. It was only then that we learned that Millie is currently on parole. If she can't hold down a job and support herself, she'll be sent straight back to prison to serve out the remaining 5 years of her sentence. Now, seeing this, I'm sure everyone watching right now is wondering the same thing I am. Why exactly is Lisa a criminal? Let's put a pin in that for now. Just after leaving the service center, Anna called her up, telling Lisa to pick up Susie from ballet class at 1:40 p.m. Before Lisa could even ask for the address, Anna abruptly hung up. Lisa had no choice but to find the dance studio's address online. But when she got there, she learned that weeks ago, Susie had made plans with a classmate to spend the night at their house tonight. This story was confirmed after the classmate's parent called Anna and verified it. Lisa was frustrated but couldn't defend herself. But surprisingly, as soon as she got back home, Anna actually turned the tables on her, claiming she had explicitly told Lisa that Susie was staying over at a friend and asking why she went to pick her up anyway. Just then, a middle-aged woman sitting nearby spoke up. She was quite displeased with Lisa's outfit. Now, this woman happened to be Frank's mother. She came over because Frank loves porcelain, so she brought a very exquisite dinner plate, and she specifically instructed Lisa to put it somewhere Anna couldn't reach, so she wouldn't smash it during one of her tantrums. Cut to 1 a.m. Lisa, tossing and turning unable to sleep, quietly tiptoed downstairs to the living room to watch TV, but to her total surprise, Frank wasn't asleep either. The two of them just struck up an idle conversation until Anna appeared in front of him. Only then did Frank reluctantly head back to the bedroom. Just imagine, your husband is up in the middle of the night, hanging out with a young nanny, lying on the couch watching TV. If you were in her shoes, would you be okay with that? So naturally, Anna wasn't having it. She ordered Lisa to pack her bags first thing in the morning and get the hell out. Lisa panicked instantly. She hurriedly begged for one more chance. Finally, after her repeated apologies, Anna agreed to give her a 1-week trial. However, during this time, Lisa was strictly forbidden from wearing low-cut tops. The next day at the villa, 3 of Anna's friends came over. What puzzled Lisa was that Anna told the others that she and Frank were actually planning for a second child. But the moment she stepped away to take a call, the 3 women started badmouthing Anna. It turned out that before they got married, Frank had made her sign a prenup. If they ever got divorced, she would be kicked out with absolutely nothing. On top of that, Anna had a history of 9 months of psychiatric treatment. For a woman like that, the fact that Frank could still love her made him seem, in their eyes, like a complete saint. After hearing all this, Lisa wrote in her diary that night, agreeing that Frank was the perfect husband. Anyone else would have given up on a psycho like Anna long ago. She decided that once she saved enough money, she would quit this job immediately. Just as she wrote that, Anna barged into the room. She told Lisa that she and Frank were going into the city next Sunday. Even though it was Lisa's day off, she still had to watch Susie for the day. Fast forward to the day the couple went into the city. The moment they left, Lisa went to the bathroom and opened the cabinet. She used her phone to look up the medications inside, and what she found was shocking. It turned out that every single bottle in the cabinet was for treating severe mental illness. She immediately called the agency, trying to get them to find her a new job. Even if she had to scrub toilet, she wouldn't stay here a second longer. But before she could finish speaking, Susie suddenly appeared and interrupted her call. Millie had no choice but to join the little girl in a game of playing house. During the game, she stumbled upon a doll that belonged to her. She immediately told Susie that without her permission, she was not to enter the attic room again. To her surprise, Susie shot back, "You'd better not go in there either." Just then, Nina's screams echoed from the living room. After a quick glance back at the room, she rushed upstairs to check. Later, she learned from Andrew that the reason they couldn't conceive a second child was due to Nina's premature ovarian failure. And what surprised Millie even more was that Susie wasn't Andrew's biological daughter. What did this imply? It meant that Andrew not only tolerated Nina's neuroses, but also that when they got married, Nina had brought Susie into the marriage. All of this made Millie look at this man before her with a newfound sense of affection. But just as one wave settled, another rose. In the early hours of the morning, Millie was awakened by a loud noise. She went downstairs to look, only to find Nina in her pajamas, clutching a piece of broken glass in her blood-soaked hand. Insane. It was absolutely insane. But what was even crazier was that the next morning, Nina had not only reverted to her gentle self, but she also brought out a pile of high-end clothes and gave them to Millie. Although the clothes looked brand new, Nina insisted that they were all out of season. Then she asked Millie to book 2 tickets for a musical on Saturday, and if possible, to book a room at a high-end hotel as well, since Susie would be staying at a classmate's house that night. He said he wanted to arrange a surprise for a guest. Just when Lisa felt that everything was about to return to normal, at her dance class, she heard from another nanny a truly shocking rumor. Years ago, when Susie was still a baby, Anna nearly drowned her in the family bathtub. Luckily, Frank discovered it in time and stopped the tragedy from happening. After the incident, Anna tried to commit suicide by swallowing pills. At the time, the whole town knew all about it. Lisa was horrified to hear this. She couldn't help but wonder what kind of monster Anna really was. Returning to the manor with mixed feelings, the gardener told her once again that she needed to leave the estate immediately. Just as Lisa was about to ask why, Anna appeared and shooed the gardener away, holding an envelope in her hand. She demanded to know what it was. "These are the theater tickets and hotel you asked for." "What? I never asked you to book these. I'm taking Susie to an event on Saturday." She refused to listen to Lisa's explanation and deducted the cost from her salary. While they were arguing, Frank rushed back home. He coaxed Anna back into the villa first, then told Lisa not to worry, promising the cost wouldn't come out of her pay. Saturday soon arrived. Watching Anna leave with Susie, Lisa finally breathed a sigh of relief. She happily took a hot bath. She had just walked out wrapped in a towel when she ran right into Frank on the stairs. Frank quickly covered his eyes and hurried downstairs. When Lisa changed and went to the living room, Frank told her he hadn't managed to return the tickets. He wanted to give them to Lisa so she could go see the show with a friend, but Lisa said she didn't have any friends. So, unsurprisingly, Frank decided to take Lisa to see it himself, promising they would definitely be back that night. Since he insisted, Millie didn't put up a fight. She got all dressed up, putting on the expensive dress Nina had given her. After they finished the musical, they headed to a super high-end restaurant for dinner. Swaying to the soft music filling the room, the slightly tipsy pair shared a dance, and in that moment, Millie was completely lost in Andrew's gaze. And, since they'd both had quite a bit to drink, naturally, driving home was out of the question. So where else could they go? They had to find a place to crash for the night. Now, for appearance's sake, they went through the motions of booking 2 rooms. But if you ask me, that was just a total waste of money. The second Millie got to her room and plugged in her phone, man, that thing started vibrating off the hook. It was a barrage of texts from Nina, constantly demanding to know where she was. And the final message dropped the bomb. She was fired. Panicked, Millie rushed to knock on Andrew's door and showed him the text. Andrew ushered her inside, comforting her by saying that he absolutely wouldn't let that happen. Now, the scene that follows isn't exactly family-friendly, so I'm just gonna skip right over it. Trust me, it's really not worth watching. If you don't believe me, go check the original movie. Early the next morning, hoping to beat Nina home, they had to rush back immediately. Before they left, Andrew warned Millie that Nina must never know about this. Millie agreed completely, but that's easier said than done. After sneaking back into the house like thieves and seeing that Nina wasn't back yet, Andrew swept Millie up in his arms and couldn't wait to carry her upstairs. But luckily for them, when Nina finally returned, she seemed to be in a good mood and didn't say a word about firing Millie. But just as Millie finally started to relax, Nina suddenly remarked, "Your cooking is so good. Did you learn it in prison?" She immediately exposed Millie's 10-year prison sentence to Andrew. Millie was completely blindsided, and even Andrew was caught totally off guard. Right after that, Nina handed her car keys to Millie, telling her to take the car to the supermarket to pick up some supplies. As coincidence would have it, while Millie was waiting in line to check out, she ran into one of the 3 women from earlier. The woman told Millie a massive secret. The phone she was holding, the one Nina had given her, actually had spyware installed on it. It not only monitored every call and text, but also tracked the phone's location in real time. That was when Millie realized that Nina knew everything. Before she could figure out how to explain herself back home, 2 police officers arrested her right there. They claimed someone had reported that the car had been stolen. It wasn't until Andrew heard the news and rushed over that the misunderstanding was finally cleared up. Facing Andrew and Millie as they returned, Nina dropped the act and put her cards on the table. She said to Millie, "Guess what? If your parole officer finds out about this, do you think he'll throw you back in jail?" Andrew was instantly furious. He looked at Nina with pure disgust. From that moment on, he never wanted to see her again. Enraged, Nina slapped Millie across the face, then drove off the estate without taking a thing. As she drove through the gate, she stopped the car and let out a scream of utter breakdown. Meanwhile, back inside the villa, Andrew was whispering sweet nothings to Millie. Starting today, Andrew felt he had finally met the right woman. The two officially began their shameless life together. As time went by, one morning, just after Millie had prepared a romantic breakfast, the next second, the gardener standing outside, startling her so much that she dropped the plate. Andrew rushed in the moment he heard the noise. He glanced at the shattered pieces on the floor, then marched outside and fired the gardener on the spot. He told Millie not to throw away the broken shard. He said he knew a porcelain restorer who might be able to fix the plate. Since Andrew insisted, Millie gathered up every single broken piece and put them in a bag. At that moment, she had no idea of the terrible price she would pay just for breaking that plate. Later, the two went up to the attic for a glass of champagne, and the next thing she knew, Millie blacked out. When she finally came to, the attic looked completely different. Aside from a single bed and a mini fridge, the room was completely empty. She tried to open the door, but Andrew had locked it from the outside. Through the door, Andrew told her he'd let her out. Just not right now. Listening to his footsteps fading away, Millie let out a scream of rage. The scene instantly cuts back to earlier, when Nina was leaving the estate. Surprisingly, she wasn't devastated at all. In fact, she was overjoyed. So, what was really going on? Let's keep watching to find out. Nina checked into a hotel room, drinking and dancing around in excitement, all while cursing Andrew's name. Once she finally calmed down, the story takes us back years into the past, when Nina was just a child. Her parents were both killed in an accident. From that moment on, she realized she was on her own, and would have to fight for her future. Fortunately, through sheer hard work, Nina made it into law school, but the bad news was, she got involved with a married professor there, and ended up having a daughter. As you can imagine, after graduation, Nina had to raise her child, and working at the same time. It was during this rock-bottom moment of her life that Andrew walked into her world, faced with such a handsome, incredibly wealthy, eligible bachelor. It wasn't just Nina who couldn't resist. Most single women out there wouldn't have stood a chance either. In no time at all, she accepted Andrew's proposal. She thought her life had finally turned around, but in reality, the nightmare was just beginning, simply because she forgot a hair appointment he had booked for her. Andrew locked her inside the attic to make Nina understand the gravity of her mistake. He told her unless she plucked 100 hairs with the roots attached, he would never let her out. At first, Nina thought Andrew was joking, but the harsh reality soon made it clear. This was definitely no prank. With nothing in the attic but a few bottles of water, and driven by intense hunger, Nina had no choice but to start pulling out her own hair. She finally managed to collect 100 strands, but the next day, Andrew slid an envelope under the door. He claimed one hair was missing its follicle. So, as punishment, Nina had to pull out another 100 strands. What else could she do? She forced herself to pull another 100. Only then did Andrew finally let her out. Once she was released from the attic, she rushed downstairs to check on her daughter, but before she could say a word, she passed out cold. Andrew had spiked her water with sleeping pills. When she woke up, it was already night. Hearing water running in the bathroom, Nina ran in, only to find her daughter lying in the bathtub. At that exact moment, police and paramedics arrived on the scene. So naturally, to the police, it looked like Nina had tried to commit suicide and take her daughter with her, and for that very reason, Andrew had her forcibly committed to a mental hospital for treatment. When she finally managed to get discharged and could finally see her daughter again, she discovered that her daughter seemed to prefer Fox. From then on, under Fox's careful manipulation, Anna was branded as the mentally unstable wife, while Fox was known far and wide as the perfect husband. To avoid getting pregnant by Fox, Anna secretly went to the hospital to get an IUD. In the days that followed, she bribed the doctor to tell Fox that her ovaries were failing, and that pregnancy was no longer possible. However, the price she paid for this was severe. Whether she forgot to turn off a light, or spilled water on the table, Fox would lock her inside the attic room. With every act of resistance, Fox would send her right back to the mental hospital. The gardener watched all of this unfold. He had tried to help Anna escape before, but once outside, Anna had nothing. Even her identity document were in Fox's hands. She was soon forced to return home. After living like this for a while, Anna finally discovered Fox's weak spot, which was that he absolutely loved being flattered. So, Anna came up with a bold plan. During this time, the gardener also revealed the reason why he wanted to help Anna. It turned out his sister was the previous victim. Accepting the gardener's help, Anna shared her plan with him. Lisa's arrival was no accident. She was a blonde beauty carefully chosen by Anna, young, smart, and an orphan. She perfectly fit all of Fox's preferences, and most importantly, Lisa had just served 10 years of a 15-year sentence. Her crime wasn't robbery robbery or theft, but murder. So, from Nina's perspective, not only could she use Millie to facilitate her escape, but she was also convinced that Millie wouldn't be like her. She wouldn't just submit to Andrew's abuse. As the flashback fades, the timeline shifts back to Millie in the attic. Andrew speaks to her from outside the door, telling her the plate she broke belonged to his grandmother. In a way, it was practically a family heirloom. So, as punishment, since the plate shattered into 21 pieces, Millie is required to carve 21 cuts into her stomach. He then slides one of the shards through the gap under the door. Make every cut deep and long. If even one isn't up to standard, then I'm afraid you'll have to start all over. Late that night, Millie stares at the shard in her hand, her mind drifting back to her high school days. There was a boy at her school who was just like Andrew, handsome, wealthy, and adored by all the girls, until one day, she caught him sexually assaulting her roommate. Without a second thought, Millie grabbed a crystal globe from the table and smashed it repeatedly into his skull. But tragically, bowing to the power of his family, her roommate refused to say a word. Millie was eventually convicted of manslaughter and sentenced to 15 years in prison. After serving 10 hard years, she finally made parole. Yet Millie's nature hasn't changed a bit. When she sees a man hurting a woman, she doesn't worry about the consequences. She fights back with everything she's got. Looking at her current situation, Millie finally realizes Nina's true intention in hiring her. She then spots a dinner knife hidden in the corner. Clearly, the knife must have been hidden here by Nina on purpose. Realizing this, Millie made a decision right then and there. Instead of passively enduring the abuse, she decided to unleash the storm upon him. Without a moment's hesitation, she carved 21 cuts across her own stomach. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, after learning about her mother's plan, the daughter didn't feel right about it. In her eyes, her mom shouldn't have left Millie in that hellhole. But Nina assured her daughter, "You have to trust in Aunt Millie's abilities." When the next morning arrived, Andrew entered the attic to inspect the wounds on Millie's stomach. Unexpectedly, Millie sprang up and plunged the knife straight into Andrew's neck. She quickly broke free from his grip, and as she bolted out the door, she locked Andrew inside the room. In the blink of an eye, the tables had completely turned. Millie had been locked up for 2 whole days, and she was starving. While she was wolfing down food, Andrew's phone received a text from Nina. "Did you get the divorce papers? My handsome big boy." Seeing that message, an idea instantly popped into Millie's head. She grabbed a bunch of fancy porcelain from the kitchen and found a pair of pliers in a drawer. She carried everything up to the attic door. She told Andrew, "I could let you out, but not just yet." She slid the pliers through the gap under the door. "You like to smile, don't you? Doesn't your mommy love seeing you smile? Unless you pull out your own front teeth right now, you're never coming out of there." Hearing this, Andrew flew into a rage. He started banging wildly on the door and cursing Millie out. As for Millie, she couldn't care less. "You like porcelain, don't you? The bookcase is full of your family heirlooms. So now, I'm going to take them one by one, smash every single piece." But even then, although Andrew was furious and heartbroken, he still couldn't bring himself to pull out his own teeth. He kept muttering, "You'd better not let me out, or I swear I'll kill you." Millie found that hilarious. "Have you forgotten that I'm a murderer? Long before you get out, I'm going to kill you right now." As soon as the words left her mouth, Millie started pouring gasoline through the crack in the door. It wasn't until he heard the strike of a match outside that Andrew finally gave in to Millie's demand. After hesitating with the pliers for a long time, he squeezed his eyes shut, braced himself, and ruthlessly yanked out his own front teeth. Once she had Andrew's teeth, Millie ignored his screaming, turned around, left the attic, and went down to the sofa, where she sipped champagne and watched TV. Just then, Nina, persuaded by her daughter, finally returned to the estate. Seeing the attic light on from the yard, she naturally assumed that Millie must be locked inside. So she sneaked into the villa and tiptoed up to the attic door. Meanwhile, Millie, lounging on the sofa, saw on the monitor that Andrew had disappeared from the attic. She also heard faint footsteps coming from upstairs. A vicious fight broke out between Andrew and Millie, but to Andrew's surprise, even though Millie was small, she was a force to be reckoned with in a fight. During the struggle, Millie managed to break free from Andrew's grip. As for Andrew, after searching the entire villa and failing to find Millie, he found Nina standing by the stairs instead. Andrew walked up to her slowly and said, "Look, what a mess this has become. After all this running around in circles, in the end, we're back to where we started, just the two of us. How about this? I promise I won't abuse you anymore. Let's forget the past and start fresh. As for Millie, one phone call from me, and she'll spend the rest of her life in prison." But Nina remained unmoved. Instead, she scoffed, "Oh, give it a rest. I know exactly what kind of man you are. You're completely useless on your own. You're nothing without your daddy's money. Watching you try to maintain this facade all day. Honestly, it's exhausting just looking at you. And your mother is a total psycho, too. You're a grown man, yet she still controls your entire life. I'd rather die right now than fall for your tricks again." Hearing this, Andrew's face turned grim. He lunged forward to grab Nina, but she dodged just in time. Millie reappeared from behind and shoved Andrew down the stairs. "Good Lord, Andrew met a gruesome end. Fittingly, his death mirrored exactly what Nina had joked about earlier. Then, Nina unscrewed a bulb from the chandelier. She took the light bulb, aimed at Andrew's body, and dropped it. She staged it to look like he was fixing the light, and accidentally fell to his death. Millie looked at Nina in disbelief. Do you really think anyone will believe that? But Nina reassured her, don't worry, everything is under my control. Hearing that, Millie even went so far as to thoughtfully place the loose tooth right next to Andrew's corpse. Only then did she leave the mansion, as Nina insisted. Nina then called the police to report the incident. Sometime later, the police arrived at the scene. The female officer spoke up. You're telling me Andrew wasn't sleeping, but decided to change a light bulb in the middle of the night? Besides, that wound on his neck doesn't look like it came from a fall. But that's not the main point. The point is, he was once engaged to my sister. It turned out that 8 years ago, the officer's sister had suddenly shown up at his door. Ever since that day, her sister's personality hadn't just changed, she'd also become mentally unstable. So, as far as the officer was concerned, Frank really did take a nasty spill. Even though the explanation seemed completely ridiculous, she told Anna there was absolutely nothing to worry about. She'd handled cases with way crazier cover-ups than this one. A few days later, at Frank's funeral, a crowd of middle-aged women wept over his passing, while the officer had to bite her tongue not to laugh out loud. As for how Art really died, his mother clearly didn't buy the official story, but according to her twisted logic, the fact that Frank lost his favorite pearly white front tooth, well, a man who can't even protect his own teeth probably deserved to die anyway. As the crowd began to disperse, Lisa appeared in the distance. Because of her parole status, she was stuck in town and had to find a new job. Anna immediately pulled out a piece of paper and handed it to her. They hugged, and she watched her walk away. When Lisa opened the paper, she realized it was a check for $100,000. The scene then shifts to a luxurious villa, where Lisa is interviewing for another nanny position. She tells the woman sitting before her that she stumbled into this line of work by accident, but ended up actually enjoying it. However, she only serves families with special requirements. Hearing this, the woman quickly replies, "You're exactly the kind of nanny I need. Anna spoke very highly of you." From the way the woman fingered the steak knife, it was clear she had a specific need, to which Lisa asked just one question. And that brings us to the end of this video. Fun times always fly by so fast. Time to say goodbye again. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to follow and smash that like button. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye bye. Mwah.